Every single business, it doesn't matter if it's a giant global corporation or a tiny local startup, has to answer one fundamental question to even survive. It's the question right at the heart of how a business actually works. And believe me, getting it wrong can be absolutely fatal.
So let's make this real. Imagine you're running a custom t-shirt shop. You've got blank shirts, you've got ink, you're using electricity, you're paying rent. Now, to set your price and figure out if you're actually making any money, you have to answer this. What is the true all-in cost of producing just one of these t-shirts? For the next few minutes, this simple shirt is going to be our guide.
So, to get to the bottom of that question, we need to start thinking like an accountant. And that means getting a handle on a few basic but really powerful concepts. These are the foundational tools for getting the numbers right. Okay, first up is the cost object. Now, that sounds super technical, right? But it's simple. It's just the thing we're trying to find the cost of. It could be a whole department, a project, or in our case, this one single t-shirt. That is our focus. And right alongside that is the cost unit. So the object is the shirt itself, but the cost unit, that's the measurement we need. It's the cost per shirt. See the difference? That's the actual number that lets us make smart decisions about pricing and profitability. It's the answer to our big question. Now, this brings up a really key distinction. What we're doing here is management accounting. We're not doing financial accounting, this stuff for the tax authorities or investors. That's all about historical, strictly regulated reporting. No, what we're doing is for us, for internal use. It's flexible, it's forward-looking, and it's all designed to help us make smarter decisions for our t-shirt business. All right, so our goal is to find the cost per shirt. But here's the thing, not all costs are created equal. To get a really accurate picture, we have to slice them up in different ways. Think of it like a chef using different knives for different ingredients. Our first big cut is between direct and indirect costs. A direct cost is something you can trace right to our t-shirt, like the cotton it's made of and the ink used to print the design. We know exactly how much went into this one single unit. But what about the rent for the workshop? You can't really trace a specific dollar of rent to a single shirt, can you? That's an indirect cost, what people usually call an overhead. And here's a tip. Mixing these two up is one of the fastest ways a new business gets its pricing totally wrong. Our second way of slicing things is all about how costs behave. You've got fixed costs, like our monthly rent, that stay the same whether we make one t-shirt or 1,000. Then you've got variable costs, like the cotton, which change directly with our activity. The more shirts we make, the more cotton we buy. It's a simple distinction, but it's absolutely crucial for planning. We can actually see this perfectly. Take a look at this graph of a fixed cost, like our rent. The number of shirts, our volume, is along the bottom. The cost is up the side. See that straight, flat line? It doesn't matter if we make 10 shirts or 1,000, that rent payment doesn't budge. It is fixed. Now, compare that to a variable cost, like our materials. This graph starts at 0. I mean, if we make 0 shirts, we spend 0 on cotton, right? But as our volume increases, that cost goes up in a nice, straight, predictable line. Every single shirt adds to the total. So what about costs that are kind of a mix of both? Well, that's what we call a semi-variable cost. The perfect example is our electricity bill. There's a fixed charge just for being connected to the grid. That's why the line starts above 0. Then there's a variable charge for every hour we run the printing machines. The more we print, the higher the bill goes. Part fixed, part variable. Okay, so we've defined a bunch of terms and we've classified our costs. But why? Why does any of this actually matter? Well, because understanding your cost is not some boring academic exercise, it is a strategic weapon for running a much smarter business. It all comes down to 3 things, really. First, there's planning. If a customer places a huge order, knowing our variable costs lets us create an accurate budget for all the materials we'll need. Second, control. We can compare what we actually spent on ink to what we plan to spend. If it's way higher, we can investigate why. And third, decision-making. And this brings us right back to the beginning. By calculating our true cost per unit, we can finally set a selling price that guarantees we make a profit on every single shirt we sell. But just getting the numbers right isn't the whole story. It's also about doing it with integrity and about understanding a business's real impact on the world outside its own 4 walls. Professional accounting bodies are literally built on a foundation of ethics. As this quote says, it's about being fair, honest, and truthful. The numbers can't just be manipulated to make things look better than they really are. Integrity is completely non-negotiable. And that sense of responsibility is expanding. Today, businesses are also being measured on what's called ESG criteria.
That's their impact on the environment, their relationships with society, and how they are governed. For our little t-shirt shop, that could mean tracking the water used to dye our cotton, or making sure our suppliers pay their workers a fair wage. It's a recognition that long-term success isn't just about the bottom line. Wow, we have covered a lot of ground, haven't we? We've gone from the cost of one t-shirt all the way to global sustainability. So let's bring it all together into one core, simple takeaway. Here it is. If you remember one thing, make it this. Understanding your costs gives you a strategic lens. It's a way of seeing your business with total, absolute clarity. It transforms you from someone who just makes things to someone who makes smart, informed decisions that drive planning, control, and ultimately success. It's not just accounting, it's pure strategy. And so, we end where we began, with a question. Knowing your costs, that's the foundation. It's the essential first step. The real question is, once you have that clarity, what will you build with it?